It's the early 19th century, and the hushed conversations on the nervous streets of London tell of a haunting pale figure stalking those unfortunates who find themselves alone on the streets at night. It was in 1837 that this particular menacing figure caught the attention of the London press and people alike. Spring Hill Jack had come to town, and he wasn't to be trifled with. Jack's first victim was young Mary Stevens, a servant girl who worked in Lavender Hill. Walking alone through Clapham Common after visiting her parents in Battersea, a sinister figure leapt out at her from the shadows. After clamping onto her with a vice-like grip, the figure began to kiss her repeatedly about the face, ripping her clothes and grabbing her again and again, her bare flesh with its claws. Terrified by this encounter, Mary screamed at the top of her voice, prompting the figure to stop and dart back into the darkness. Her screams awoke residents nearby who came to her aid, searching for the figure in the back alleys, but to no avail. Later, Mary would describe its claws as cold and clammy, as those of a corpse. Seemingly unfazed, the figure struck again the very next day, this time choosing a decidedly different victim. An unsuspecting coachman was leading his carriage down an occupied street near to Mary Stevens' house, when out of nowhere a pale figure leapt in front of the horses. Caught entirely by surprise, the coachman lost control of the carriage, crashing to a chaotic halt in the street, leaving him seriously injured. Eyewitnesses reported a figure fleeing the scene, leaping over a 9-foot wall, cackling with a high-pitched laugh in his wake. And so, Spring Hill Jack was born. Months after this initial sighting, however, a new twist in Jack's tale occurred. The Mayor of London, Sir John Cowan, had received a letter of complaint from an anonymous resident of Peckham. The correspondence told of an elaborate prank. Some upper-class few, who would remain nameless, had wagered a mischievous and foolhardy companion of theirs would not dare disturb the households of the villages near London. It appeared, however, their loathsome companion took the wager very seriously indeed. One night a bell rang at a house in Peckham. Upon answering the door, the servant girl was accosted by a devil on the doorstep. Looming large, this pale, spectral figure left her swooning in horror. Word soon spread. The servant girls of London were not safe. Was it the nefarious devil Spring Hill Jack? Or was it merely an upper-crust hoax, getting their laughs at the expense of the lower class? Buoyed by the frenzy this mystery had provoked, the London press revelled in the lurid details. Reports from Stockwell to Lewisham told of women frightened into dangerous fits, some maimed by the claws the figure wore on its hands. While initially sceptical, the mayor had declared the greatest exaggerations had been made, and that it was quite impossible that the ghost performs the feats of a devil upon earth. His mind was changed by the account of a trusted acquaintance. The tale came to him of a servant girl from Forest Hill in Lewisham who'd been scared into fits by a figure wearing a bear's skin. Horrified for the girl, he declared the pantomime display would not go unpunished and instructed police to seek out those responsible, offering rewards to those who aided in their capture. However, none came to pass. It was on a cold night in February 1838 that Spring Hill Jack's notoriety would reach its peak. Miss Jane Alsop was sitting in her father's house, reading one February evening, when she heard a knock at the door. Upon answering, she found a cloaked man on the doorstep, claiming to be a police officer. He declared they'd caught the evasive Spring Hill Jack lurking in the lane nearby, and asked that she bring a light to witness the discovery. Stepping out the instant she passed him the light, he threw off his cloak, revealing a most hideous and frightful appearance, vomiting blue and white flame from his mouth, whilst his eyes resembled red balls of fire. Upon his head he wore a large helmet. His clothing appeared tight-fitting, resembling white oilskin. Seeing his moment, he leapt upon her, tearing at her clothing and flesh with his claws, made of some metallic substance, Miss Alsop would later declare. At her cries for help, the man momentarily loosened his grip, allowing Jane to break free. She hastily ascended the steps to the house, but the man was upon her again in an instant, incessantly tearing at her neck and arms. Responding to her screams, Jane's sister burst through the front door of the house, forcing the man to retreat into the night, leaving Jane at the steps, bloody and broken. Barely a week had passed before the man struck again. 18-year-old Lucy Scales and her sister were returning home one evening after visiting their brother in Limehouse. As they passed Green Dragon Alley, they observed a cloaked man loitering in the passageway. Walking single file to pass the stranger, Lucy in front, her sister behind, she was met with a face of blue flame, depriving her temporarily of her sight. Dropping to the concrete, Lucy was overcome by violent fits that continued for several hours intermittently. Upon hearing the screams of his sisters, their brother came running, carrying Lucy home and summoning the police to seek out their tormentor. Upon searching, there was no discovery, only the words of Lucy's sister, who declared the man as having a tall, thin, gentlemanly appearance, covered in a large cloak and carrying a small lamp, similar to those used by the police. He didn't speak, he didn't act, he only walked away. That night the man, the devil, Spring Hill Jack, evaded capture. A few nights later, however, after his tongue was loosened by an evening of ale, and Mr. Thomas Milbank boasted to all in the Morgan's Arms that he was the mighty Spring Hill Jack. Thomas was arrested and tried for the assault on Jane Alsop, after cloak and lamp were discovered in his possession, but he was not formally identified as Spring Hill Jack himself. He did, in fact, escape conviction entirely due to his lack of fire-breathing ability. Alsop insisted her attacker had breathed fire, a feat Milbank was unable to boast of. Following Milbank's arrest, the years were quiet, and the antics of Spring Hill Jack were considered put to bed, until 1843, when fresh sightings were reported, this time further afield. Spotted in Northamptonshire, the people described him as the very image of the devil himself, whilst the attacks on mail coaches by a sprightly devil became a common occurrence in East Anglia. In 1847, a sea captain from Teignmouth in Devon was convicted of 2 counts of assault on young women. According to their testimonies, he came at them disguised in a skin coat which had the appearance of bullock's hide, skull cap, horns and mask. Considering how widespread these instances were in terms of location, it's very possible they were the work of a copycat or two. Once again, Spring Hill Jack took a sabbatical, and sightings petered out, until the 1870s, where he returned to London, where it all began. Peckham was up in arms once more over the appearance of a mysterious figure roaming the streets, christened the Peckham Ghost. The News of the World, trusty publication that they were, took it upon themselves to declare this ghost as Spring Hill Jack. The basis for leaping, pun intended, to this assumption is unknown. The people of Sheffield adopted the same stance when identifying their own ghost, the Park Ghost. Jack's UK tour continued in this way, popping up in Lincolnshire, wearing a sheepskin and inciting an angry mob, rocking up on a church roof in Liverpool. It was in 1877, however, in Aldershot Garrison, where one of his more widely reported pit stops occurred. The soldier on night watch one August evening observed an unexpected figure advancing towards them in the darkness of the camp. He issued a warning. It was ignored. Appearing beside the soldier, the figure proceeded to slap him around the face several times over. Shots were fired on this mysterious assailant to seemingly no effect, and as quickly as it came, it disappeared back into the night. The incident was put down to a prank, but sentries became uneasy nonetheless, and additional ammunition was provided, with instruction to shoot the night terror on sight. After this, the sighting ceased, oddly. No one was ever formally identified as Spring Hill Jack. He became a leaping legend, a story to tell children to scare them into good behaviour. Theories as to his identity range from simple mass hysteria to the paranormal. The strongest human candidate being the Marquess of Waterford, an Irish nobleman known for his brawling, vandalism and bad humour. A lack of any actual evidence meant this line of thought was never formally pursued. How to explain them, vomiting blue-white flames and the metal substance claws? Wolverine staggering about the back streets of 19th century London on one too many ciders? No. Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments. Thanks very much for listening. If you'd like to contact us or check out what we've been up to, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you enjoyed the video today, please do like it, subscribe to the channel, and ding the bell to receive notifications about new videos. See you in the next one.